Hello everyone, my name is Ruben, and today we're going to be learning how to make this cowbell looking thing over on Onshape. So throughout this process, we're going to be learning bits of filleting, shelling, and a bit of the subtractive manufacturing process as well. So to start off, we're going to be making a solid block out of this side profile over here. So if you open up Onshape, go to the right profile, we'll begin by sketching this out. So I'm going to create a new sketch on the right plane and figure out what we know for now. Okay, so this height isn't yet defined, but we can start with what we do know. We do know we have this 5 long top, this 10 long stretch down. So we can at least start with that. Let's create 5 long stretch, 10 long stretch. Zoom out because this is big. And I'm gonna just constrain this for now by using just this point on the origin. So now we have that. We're not going to worry about this little curve here because we'll do that at the end when we're filleting everything. Next, we have this curve that shows with the radius of 9. So we can start to figure that out by going to a curve using a center point arc. That's not what we do, just kidding. Using a 3-point arc, creating just a curve that we can click and define with radius 9, was it? Yeah, 9. Then to continue constraining this, we can set this curve tangent to this. And we have a curve. Now we just don't know where this endpoint is. After that curve, we have this radius 5 curve going down. But we're also going to ignore that for now because I found out that when you sketch this curve, it tends to break parts in the future steps. So we're just going to leave that at a harsh angle. So all we know is it will curve to be vertically down. So do that like that. Oh, wait. Hold up. I completely forgot that there's a full-on slant over here. So we're going to ignore that. Back. So then we have a slant. Then we have this. And then I'm just going to create the basic shape for right now. So this should be vertical. So this obviously does not look like the side profile yet because we have to continue constraining parts. So what else do we know? We know that this line is at a 45-degree angle from this line. So if you use the dimension tool between two lines actually that are slanted, you can create an angled constraint. And so we have that for now. Again, we want to make these two tangent so it's smooth. Okay, it's looking more like how it should. And now we just don't know some parts. We don't know how long this stretch is. Don't know how long this stretch is. We don't know how long this stretch is over here. Also for this divot, we will be creating that in later steps, so you can ignore that for now. So since we don't have all of our information for this little sketch over here, we can look at the other ones for more info. So by looking at this one, we know the entire height of the cowbell is 50 units. And if we look at this one, we know the width of it is 18. So that 18 corresponds to this length. That, 50 corresponds to this length. So if we go over here, and set this as 50, and set this as 18. And as you can see, that has now constrained everything on the sketch. So that's good stuff. Okay, you can finish that sketch and move on to extruding this. So to figure out how much we want to extrude this by, go back to our drawing. Oh, I can zoom out. So over here, the entire width of this shape is going to be 65 units long. So we can just make this 65. Also, I don't know why, I just like to make it symmetric here because then the sketch ends up in the middle, as you can see. That can be used as a point of reference for other sketches because it'll be like a little line of symmetry going all the way down. It'll be easy to find your midpoint. So yeah, now that we've extruded for 65 units, we can see we have this block that's starting to look like our shape, but obviously does not have nearly all the features we need. So next up, we're going to be making this the curve. So as you can see, the entire thing is slightly curved. Ours does not have that now. So we're going to do that by actually shaving off some of the excess material on the top to create that curve. So I'm going to create a new sketch and make it on the top of our shape here, the top view, so it's easier to see. And I'm going to be essentially sketching out this top curve. So I'm going to start by making a box actually around this entire shape. 1 second. What are our dimensions again? 65, 18. So this should be 65. This should be 18. And now we can see our entire thing. It's within this box. I'm actually also going to hide this part for now because it's not necessary. Next, what else do we know? We know this is a radius of 200. So we can create our curve over here. We know it touches this side, and has a radius of 200. We also want these points to be horizontal to each other. Lastly, we know that the furthest most point, as you can see, the very end of the curve is where the 18 is going to be. So we can make this curve tangent to this line, and then that's how our curve is going to be. So that's all we have to do for now, actually. So if you finish that sketch, unhide our part, and extrude, we can click on these little slivers we made, because we made that curve within the box, and go to remove. Now, if we just remove through all, as you can see, oh yeah, also merge scope, click on the part. There we go. So when we remove through all, and now that we like cut off those little sections, our cowbell now has the curve. So now it's looking more and more like the cowbell. Good stuff. I'm going to finish that sketch. Next, we want to make all the frontal features that we're seeing. Like we're going to make it so there's a hole for the handle. There's that little gap in the middle there, and also this bottom curve that we have going on here. So I'm going to go to the front, create a new sketch. Let's click somewhere on there. And yeah, what should we start with? Here. Okay, so there's a good amount of info over here. So we know that this curve, or actually hold up, this entire outside curve is going to have a radius of 15. So is this one. This length is 40. So there's a whole lot of stuff that isn't clearly defined, but when you just start out with what you can see and what you know, you'll eventually get there. So I'm going to create, actually, I'm going to create the box again first. Yeah, this is 50, this is 65, and then pipe apart. Okay, so what we know is this one I'm going to use a center point arc. Okay, we know, maybe. Okay, this has a radius of 15. That looks big. 15. Okay. No, we're good. This also will have a radius of 15. So since they're the same, we can just set them equal. And we know these are half circles. So we want these 2 points to be vertical of each other. So you can use the vertical constraint key, which is V. Just click on these 2 points for both of them, and it will make them vertical. And also click on them on the center in one of them. So then the center is also in line. So now we have a nice half circle going on over here. What else do we know? The distance between the tips of the two circles is 40. Okay, so we also know that these circles are in line. So we can use the horizontal tool, which is the hotkey of H, clicking on these two dots, and now they're in line. Then we can dimension the distance between these two to be 40. Right. This looks, oh wait, not the dimension between these two. Sorry, ignore that. Because the 15 relates to this outer curve and this 40 relates to this inner curve. Okay, so other than that, we want to figure out the radius of this inner curve here. And although there's not a radius marking like this one, we have this dimension of 16 that shows that the diameter of this curve is, well, 16. So from that, we can know that the radius is going to be 8. So I'm going to spread these out again. Go back to the center point arc. It's going to have the same center because it's kind of concentric like that. So create another curve, Dimension this one is 8. Oh, the hotkey to use the equal constraint is E, by the way. So you can just tap E and click on the two things you want. Equal, then make these vertical. Okay, and now these ones are 40 apart. There we go. Hold up. Oh, I didn't make the center of this. Okay, so I'm going to use the incident, which is I, and make these two curves incident. There we go. Now it's all in line. Cool. So now we have this shape going. I don't know where it's fully constrained positionally yet, but we can do that a bit later. Also, we know that the tops are connected, so we can just create a line going across over here. And then what else do we know? Okay, we know here at this curve, we don't know this distance yet, but we know that we have a 12 long line and then it goes 7 up. So this one is 12, then it goes 7 up, and it connects to everything else. So again, we can just start off with what we know. You got 12 long line, and it goes 7 up on this side. Also be a line that's also 7, so you can set these equal to each other. Okay. Oh, give me a second to make it so you can see the shape. Okay. And we know that all of this stuff is going to be directly in the middle of, it's going to be centered with this entire thing. So the way I like to center things usually is just create a point here. You can use the point tool and set it. You can kind of hover along this line until it creates a square. That's how you know you're making a midpoint, right? And the way we have this set up is this origin is directly in the center of this box over here. If you want to double check, you can still on the point over the line, and you can see that. Actually, here you can just click on the line here, go to the midpoint constraint, click on this dot, and click on this, and it just goes over the center. And so now we have this midpoint and this midpoint. So the way you can center all of this is use the vertical key again, which is the hotkey of V again, and click that. And now this will be centered. We don't know how up and down. Actually, we do know how up and down because we know that this little arch is the very top of this cowbell. So we can now just make this incident with this. And now that's constrained. Okay. And now we also know that this little U divot is also going to be in the center of this entire thing. So once again, I'm going to just make a point in the middle here maybe. Oh, there it is. Okay. Let's set vertical to this, and there we go. And so now we know that to the inner or outer ring. Okay, to the inner ring, there's just going to be a straight line connecting this part. So we can raise this up and create a line to this, a line to this, and make them horizontal. Now, this is all constrained. Cool. Also, I just realized that this outer curve is not going to go all the way to here. As you can see, kind of curves a bit under half, and then they'll go down. So I gotta change that actually. I'm gonna just delete this vertical constraint, and may have goofed a bit. Give me a second. Here, I'm gonna just delete this curve entirely. Actually, that's my bad. Here we go. Center point arc again. Here, somewhere random. Here, random 15. So these two equal. Okay, this is not constrained anymore. That is because, why is that? Okay, also still want to make these two horizontal because they should be on the same level. Now when I drag this up and down, yeah, they should move together. Why is this not constrained though? That is my question. Oh, I guess because when we connect it back, hopefully you'll work out. That's interesting. Okay, I'm gonna come back to that because I don't know what's happening there yet. But now we're gonna work on this bottom curvy part. So again, I'm gonna start with what we know. It's not a whole lot of dimensions going on here, but we do have some here. So we know that this entire curve, oh wait, that's not the important one. So here, we know that this part is 12. It has the arc has 3 unit separation from the bottom, and the second arc has a 2 unit separation. So we can just go ahead. What am I doing? There we go, drag. Okay, go ahead and start with that here. So if we just create center point arc, actually not a center point arc, a 3-point arc, we know that 2 of its points are going to go there, and it's going to be curved like that. And now we also know that the top of the arc and the base over here is going to have a distance of 3. And so that constrains that. But we don't want all of that arc. So we just want 12 of it. So actually, so I'm going to change this to a construction line, actually, and create another, where am I going? 3-point arc. Just make it follow this line. Here, I'm going to just create the lines for now. Go. You know that this should be, look at that angle dimension. There we go. This should be 12. This should be 12. And this should follow this line. Actually, hold on. First, I'm going to make these not construction, because these are the lines we actually want. Okay, there we go. Then using the incident key, I'm going to make sure that it follows that line. Okay, now we can see that it goes up a bit and then has the curve again, this time 2 higher than the original curve. So I'm going to just create this little up part. There we go. You want these two to be equal to each other. Cool. And we also want these to be mirrored. So the way we're going to do that is I'm going to just sketch a small vertical construction line from the center up. This does not have to be constrained. This is just kind of a reference for the unshaped thing to find a line of symmetry. And I'm going to go to mirror. Where is that? Maybe. Hold up. Why can't I find this? Symmetric. There we go. I'm done. There we go. Symmetric. Click on those 2 points, this line, or not. That's interesting. Okay, go back to symmetric. These 2 lines saving this. No. Okay, ignore that. We're just going to make the curve first. So if I go back to the 3-point arc, make this little arc here, and we know that this is 2 higher than this arc. And this is a case where this arc technically isn't fully constrained. Like, we don't know how long these little individual pegs are, so we can't really actually determine the curve of this arc or the radius of this arc. So I'm kind of gonna not cheat a bit because they left it out. So we're just gonna assume that this arc has the same radius as this one. So we can just set these equal. Okay, that's it. And here's another tip. If you, oh yeah, I can set this equal to this too. But see, this is why I kind of wanted to make it mirrored. I have no idea what's happening here. Hold up, I will come back in 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I figured out all my problems. So instead of using the symmetric constraint, because that was just not working, we're gonna create one line and use the mirror tool to, so we gotta select a mirror line. We're gonna use this line we created before again. That's gonna be our mirror line. And just select this line, and there we go. Now, the symmetric is actually working, and they will be mirrors of each other. So now, I'm gonna go ahead and, no, not 3-point arc. Make this curve again. Oh, there we go. Make it 2 higher than that curve. Okay, give me a second. There we go. And make this equal to that. Okay, now we just need to figure out how far in this goes. And also, I figured out what was wrong with this constraint. For some reason, we need to just pick a dot and on this 8 radius curve and set it vertical to this. That seems to fix everything, even though you couldn't move it before. But you know what, that works. Okay, now moving on to figure out how tall this is. All right, this one also does not have a dimension. That's right. So the way I did it is I set this line parallel to this line because, to be fair, it's not dimensioned in any of these, and that's kind of what looks best. So if you go here, you can use the parallel constraint over here and just set, oh wait, we don't have this line yet. That is a good point. So we know that this is connected to this like this. This is connected to this like this, but we don't know how far down this goes yet. So if you go back here, we can see that the curve ends when it's directly in line with the rest of the, it's a quarter circle essentially. It ends right at this halfway part. You can tell by these center lines going all the way through. So we can set this horizontal to to this dot, since that's mirrored, that's all constrained. Now that we have this line, we can, oh wait, is that what I did? Yeah. Wait. No, that's not what I did. Sorry, this line just shows that that's where the fill is coming in, but that's not what we're doing. So instead, if we want to make a nice smooth curve, so we're going to make this line change it to this curve. So now we have, there we go. Now we have the nice smooth transition between. And now that we have this line, we can set this line parallel to this. Cool. And now we have our front shape. It took a bit longer, but we're here. And so now that we have this sketch, we're going to use the same subtractive process that we used in the last step to get the curve. So I'm going to go to extrude, and instead of clicking all the parts you created like you normally would, we're going to click on all of the parts outside of our shape and in here. There we go. I'm going to go to remove, so you can see our part again. Click on merge scope and click on the part, and just, or merge with all, that works too. And through all. There we go. I think. That was not through all. Give me a second. Other way. Oh, the sketch is in here. Okay. The sketch is kind of in between for some reason. This extrude. So I'll just make a second bend position and make that also through all. There we go. Now it's cutting through both ways. And now it's looking like our shape even more. Now we got the Cowbell shape, but it's got a bunch of harsh edges, which we'll fix later. For now, we're going to make the inside hollow using the shell. Where's that located again? Over here. This shell feature. So if you go here, we go to the bottom, click on all the bottom faces, and also be sure to get these little ones hanging out over here. And we're going to set the shell thickness to, as you can see, it has a consistent thickness of 1.5 going all the way around. So we're going to set that to 1.5, and there we go. Now our cowbell is hollow, so it'll make a sound when you hit it. Always good. Okay, obviously we're looking more and more like a cowbell. Next up, what we're going to do is over here, you can see that we have this hole that we still haven't made, and we have this little top, I'm not sure what to call it, this connector piece that we don't have yet. And on the bottom, we have these two little divots, or just like kind of rails on this bottom part that we also don't have yet. So I'm going to start with this circle and this top line over here. So I'm going to go create a new sketch over here, click on this, and yeah, this is a good enough angle. So for this little top line, which sketch shows that? This one kind of does. So as you can see, it's the same thickness as the rest of the walls. We know that the walls are 1.5, so we can just create a rectangle that's touching that corner, and we know it goes all the way across, so that's good. So it touches that corner, and then just set this dimension to 1.5. There we go. That's going to be our sketch for a wall. And then for this hole, dang, I can't talk. Here, we see it has a diameter of 5, and as to where it's positioned, we can tell from this one, these lines indicate that it's in the center. So we know it's going to be centered within that little platform that they have going on over there. So it's going to create a circle, diameter of 5. And now we want to center this. So the way I kind of like to do this sometimes is just use a bunch of lines. So set that in the middle. Use another construction line. The midpoint vertically up. Let's set that to construction. It's not an actual line we need. And set these two lines equal to each other. There we go. Now that is the direct center of this little thingy. So we can close out of that sketch. I'm going to start with this little piece over here. So we know that it extrudes up to the same level as this part. So we can use, instead of just blind, we can just click and having to measure it. We can just click up the face, click on this face, and there we go. It matches the extrude to that level. And then for the hole, I'm going to make the sketch visible again. Oh, not create a new sketch. Extrude this hole, remove, just make it, oh, wrong way. It's going to make it through all again. There we go. Now we have our hole. Okay. Now what we're missing is, right, these two little rails on the side, kind of. So as you can see, the rails are also 1.5 in thickness, so the same thickness as the walls. They just kind of go on the outside edge of this little bottom part, and they're too high. So if you go to the bottom here, create another sketch. Okay, yeah. Just line it up and just make some rectangles for now. Oh, I don't know why I made it there. Make some rectangles. Okay. Oh, there we go. This is 1.5, not 1.5, 1.5. And these are equal to each other. And we can just, since it's a curve, we don't really have to make the curve. We can just make this point, actually, no, not that point. Make this point touch the curve so that anything, so just, it's all within the curve. We won't be seeing any of the edge. And make this point touch that curve, and then finish that sketch, extrude these two, and then we know that extruded by 2 units. And there's that. So now we have those little rail things. Okay, finally, we have this cowbell looking thing, but there's a bunch of sharp edges. We don't want that. You can cut your finger, it'll bleed. It's not gonna be very fun. So we're gonna fillet this entire thing. So first, what we're gonna do for the fillet is we're gonna go back to this, oh, there we go. Go back to this 5 radius fillet of this center part here. And see, the reason we did the sketch before is, as you can see, it's kind of curved now. And that ends up making it, if you made the curve in the sketch all the way in the beginning, it just kind of makes it look ugly. That not work out. So if we go to this fillet tool over here, set this to 5, with a radius of 5, and just click on these 2 edges. There we go. We're starting at a curve. And for the rest, over here, you can see that these have a radius of 2. And although these edge ones aren't really defined what their fillet is, we can safely assume it's 2. We can just assume it's 2. Just yeah, it's not defined again. And also it's like the same size as all these top ones. So actually we can't assume it's 2 because it is 2. So as you can see, this top one is 2, and it's that same fillet all the way down the edge. So we can tell it's 2. So set that to 2 and click a lot. So this entire, oh, it did for me. Wow. So we got that entire top edge, this entire back edge, and yeah, I guess I didn't have to click a lot, but there we go. Now have our very fancy cowbell. It's not really a cowbell. Honestly, don't know what this is supposed to be, but call it a cowbell. But yeah, it's quite the process. But as you can see, if you just take it step by step, even though it's a kind of a complex shape, if you just start off with basic structures and just kind of chip your way down from there, you can make cool stuff like this. Although I don't know if you think this is cool. It's kind of, yeah, I don't know what this is. But there you go. There you have it. I will see you in the next video if I ever make one, but who knows. Bye-bye. How do I stop recording this?